Geek Therapy Radio.
Welcome to the Geek Therapy Radio podcast. Sorry, I had to check something there. I'm your mental curator, Johnny Hemberger, and today, the first thing that's popped into my mind, who knows what we'll get to in this podcast, but the first thing that's coming to my mind that I wanted to vent to you listening, because I'm sure we're all in the same boat, or we've been in the same boat. I've been not focused on something the past couple days, but there's something that's been on the top of my mind for the past few days, and it's one of those things where I know that I'm going to spend 2 or 3 days really researching this and really looking through it and really finding out as much as I can about this subject before I inevitably lose interest and move on. Anyways, I'm on Auto Trader looking at pickup trucks, and let me explain myself. I have high expectations that my next vehicle will be 100% EV. I'm looking at maybe a used Volkswagen e-Golf, maybe wait a little bit longer until Volkswagen releases new EV models. Who knows what the future holds for me as far as vehicles, but I'm pretty confident, and I like to think that my next car is going to be EV. Of course, that all depends on finances. As with anything else, it depends on being able to actually purchase an EV. If it's cheap enough, then sure. I have no intention immediately of getting rid of my daily driver, which is that 2010 Audi S5. And the reason is it's a V8, naturally aspirated V8 with a 6-speed manual transmission. And that combination is going to get increasingly rare. So I'm going to keep driving the car as long as I can drive the car. I have a relationship now with a car repair shop in Kingwood called Best Automotive, and they're keeping me running and on the road, and they do great work. They've been in Kingwood longer than I have. I came to Kingwood in 1989. They've been in Kingwood since 1984, so it's a local shop. What really put them on my radar wasn't just that I knew them and I knew of their work. It's that they work on classic cars too. As you know, I've got a 1983 DeLorean. So anytime I'm on North Park down that way, I'm always, as I'm driving by, for decades, I would peek over to see what classics they had out there, what they have in the shop, what they're working on. An old Corvette, old 69 Dodge Charger, some Jeeps. They're always working on something, and they do resto mods and all sorts of stuff. So I'm trusting them to, they also do modern cars as well, of course. So I'm trusting them with my 2010 Audi S5. And I know that Best Automotive is going to do really well with that. So anyways, one of my vehicles is for sale because I have too many vehicles. I have 3 vehicles currently right now. My daily driver, S5, the DeLorean, which is basically a nest egg thing. That's something that's I'm going to leave to my kids. I don't even consider that really a car that I have. It's more of kind of just it's a part of the family really now. It is not for sale. I don't foresee it ever being for sale unless something catastrophic happens, of course. It is part of it's going to be part of my will, basically. So really, I've got 2 cars. The MR2 Spider is for sale. I'm actually getting rid of that one. I could talk about that for a few minutes. I'll put a pin in that. So the MR2 Spider is for sale, and Rowdy's in the shop. So I've been driving the Spider around. So I just know that after Rowdy, when I'm done with Rowdy, she's got 137,000 miles or so on her right now. 137,000 miles. She's a little long in the tooth, but she still has plenty of gumption. I plan on kind of fixing up the interior a little bit, just doing minor things, not pouring a bunch of money into this, obviously, but I plan to keep her for a lot longer. And when I get rid of Rowdy, it's going to be hopefully to get into an EV, fully electric vehicle. I don't know what it's going to be. Hopefully another Volkswagen, maybe a Tesla. Who knows what the future holds. But strangely enough, I'll just mention real quick about the MR2. Lowballing doesn't even begin to cover it. I'm asking $3,900, and there's wiggle room in there, of course. And I just ignore the people texting, I'll give you $500 cash right now. I'm not responding to you, dude. I am just not responding to that. Are you high or am I high? Did you say $500? Is that 5,000? Did you forget a comma and a zero? $500? Are you kidding me? That's insulting. I don't respond to those lowballs. Anyways, so the thing that's been in my head right now for the past couple days is, do you ever find yourself needing a pickup truck? I'll put it this way. Every time I need a pickup truck, it gets into my head that I should buy a pickup truck. And then I take a step back from the situation and realize I don't need to haul something but maybe once a year or once every 2 years. Do I actually find myself in need of a pickup truck? And if I do need a pickup truck or I do need to haul something, I've got plenty of friends with pickup trucks who are more than willing to be gracious and let me borrow their truck or help me, or I can rent one from a U-Haul. So to me, it seems like I would rather drive something fuel efficient in the meantime, because even people with pickup trucks, most people with pickup trucks and SUVs, they're not hauling anything around day to day. I have nothing against, obviously I don't have anything against pickup trucks. I've had a couple pickup trucks myself, and that is one of the points I'm going to get to in this story here. But anyways, I needed a pickup truck over the weekend. I borrowed my friend Buddy's. My Buddy's, his name is Buddy, his pickup truck, and I got the piece of furniture into the new house and everything. But it sticks in my brain now that maybe, should I get a pickup truck? And my wife was talking to me. She's like, you know what? We have a house now. A pickup truck might be of some use. You know, we might need it more often. And I'm just thinking, well, after we get the furniture settled, why would we need? But even still, I'm thinking, well, more and more I think about it, I do like the idea of a pickup truck myself. I liked having a pickup truck, and I'll tell you what pickup truck I used to have. I had 2 of them over the course of my life. And they were intensely useful. Really the only thing I didn't like about pickup trucks was the gas mileage. And I always thought it baffling. And I guess this is where I'll get into what truck I had. I had 2 of the same model staggered over a few years. So I had a 1998 Dodge Dakota, and then I had a Volkswagen GTI, and then I went back to a 2002 Dodge Dakota. So I love the Dodge Dakota. It was a mid-size pickup truck, or I guess in this day and age it would be considered a compact pickup truck, but whereas the Ford Ranger is a small pickup truck, and the Dodge Ram or Ford F-150 is a full-size pickup truck, the Dodge Dakota was somewhere in between a small Ranger and a regular size like Ford F-150. It was right there in between. And I loved the utility of that truck. I love all it was capable of, that I could haul basically my entire apartment with it. It had a surprising amount of bed space, and actually you could do real work with it. I loved the truck to death, but I just was not in love with the gas mileage. Mind you, the last time I had a pickup truck, gas was way more expensive than it even is now. You were paying $3.50 a gallon here in Texas for regular unleaded gasoline, and I hated driving the 2002 Dodge Dakota in that sense, that I knew that I could get something with much better gas mileage. So I went from the 2002 Dodge Dakota to a 2004 or 5 Volkswagen Jetta diesel that got around 50 miles per gallon. But now the more I'm thinking about it, the more I'm thinking about what if pickup trucks have got more fuel efficient these days, and what if I could find a pickup truck that got at least 30 miles to the gallon or close to it on the highway that might be more livable for me. So I'm looking around Auto Trader and just paging through and setting my preferences and doing the search. And yes, so a modern Dodge Ram, like anything after, I think it's 2014 or 15, the V6 and the V8s get respectable gas mileage, up to like 26 miles per gallon on the highway, which is amazing. Just about the best I could do on the highway with my 2002 Dodge Dakota was, I think I saw 21 miles per gallon once, and that was me being just very, very easy on the gas, setting the cruise control to 60 miles an hour. I think I could get it, if I was really, really good, I could get it to just over 20 miles per gallon. So here's the thing. They don't make the Dodge Dakota anymore, and it's baffling. The closest thing to the size and function of a Dodge Dakota is, I believe, the Chevy Colorado. It's also called the GM or the GMC. Oh, what is it called? It's the same exact thing. It's just the GMC is a more luxury version of it. But the Chevrolet Colorado, that can get 30 miles to the gallon, but I don't personally want a Chevy. I know that modern Mopar is pretty plasticky, but Chevys it seems like the whole thing is made out of plastic. And I don't mean to incite a war over this, because I know that truck buyers are the most defensive about their brand loyalty. They look really, really nice. And I think what it boils down to for me is my own brand loyalty. I've always had Dodges. My 2 Dodge Dakotas never once ever had a problem. The biggest issue I ever had with any of my Dodge Dakotas was one wear and tear item. I had to replace the water pump. That was the only failure I ever had on a Dodge Dakota. And again, that's a wear and tear thing. That wasn't something that malfunctioned. The engine had a lot of mileage on it, and the water pump can only last for so long before it wears out. Replace the water pump. I have very fond memories with my Dodge Dakota, and it's never let me down. My father-in-law has a Dodge Dakota that's been running forever. So I grew up in a Dodge Caravan. My mom had a Dodge Caravan, a Plymouth Voyager, an old Plymouth Voyager before that, the type with that had a 4-cylinder with a supercharger in it, which is crazy. That thing was ugly. Maroon. It was like Aggie colors. Anyway, so I have my own loyalty. If it's American car, it's going to be a Dodge. Overall, my loyalty brand loyalty, so to speak, is to Volkswagen. But that's not to say that I've never owned other makes and models of things. Right now I've got the Toyota MR2 Spider, which is bar none the best bang for the buck of any car available today, if you ask me, period, as far as sports cars go. They are cheap. They are mid-engined. You can get them with a manual transmission, so they handle like a Ferrari. They get the really great gas mileage, and my MR2 is supremely fun. So I love Toyota. I've driven Hondas. My brother had a Honda Civic. I'm just saying, if I buy a pickup truck, I tend to want a Dodge. And you might be asking, well, what about Ford? You haven't even mentioned Ford yet. You know what's silly, though? My reason for not wanting a Ford is really quite ridiculous. It's the door chime. I don't like the chime in Fords. Dee-dee-dee, dee-dee-dee, dee-dee-dee. For some reason, I hate it. Because otherwise, Ford over the past 10 years has grown on me massively. I used to despise Ford. This is my youth, for no other reason that I grew up in a high school town where the mascot was a Mustang, the horse. So we were the Kingwood Mustangs, and everybody had a Ford Mustang. To me, it's solidified, and I'm trying to get over this because even the Ford Mustangs have grown on me over the past 10 years. They look nice. They look like Aston Martins. They look better than they did in the 90s, in the early 2000s, and all that. So I know that they're good cars, but growing up with your high school mascot being the Ford Mustang and everybody having a Ford Mustang, it was not original. And I hated the fact that Mustangs were not original, that on my way to work, on my way to school, no matter where I go, it was guaranteed I was going to see 20, 30, 40 Mustangs just within 2 miles. Say, why do you get that car if there's nothing unique about it? Mustang is more unique in other settings. Again, I remind you before I get the friggin' hate mail. You don't like Mustangs? You got to remember, the mascot of our high school was Mustang. And I will go even deeper into this real quick, is that I entered my 1983 DeLorean into a car show, and it had the most massive crowd surrounding it at any given time in the car show. It had a lot of interest. Again, this was 2002. The DeLorean did not have its resurgence in pop culture popularity as it would around 2015, obviously. So no one remembered what it was, but they were all coming to look at it because the doors were up and they were fascinated and being reminded about what it was. But anyways, it generated a lot of interest at the car show. What car do you think won at that Kingwood car show? What car do you think probably won overall in the last car show? I would bet $1 that once again it was a Ford Mustang because of the Kingwood Mustangs. I don't have any, like I mentioned, Ford has grown on me in the past 10 years, even Mustangs. I probably personally would never buy one with my own money, but I would be happy to win one if someone just gave me a Ford Mustang, a 5.0 Ford Mustang GT, something like that with a 6-speed manual transmission, 5.0 V8 up front, classic, just a classic setup. I'd be happy to have it. I don't think I would spend my own money like that. And before you judge me on that, I guarantee you, if you want to light me up for not liking Ford Mustangs as much as you, I promise you probably don't like the Dodge Challenger or Dodge Charger as much, or the Chevy Camaro. We all have our little biases, and at the end of the day, it's a bias towards or against a car, and it doesn't matter. It's like liking a baseball team. Yes, it's fun to like your own sports team. I love the Astros and the Red Sox and the Boston Bruins, mainly any Boston town, Boston's Celtics, any Boston team from my upbringing. But you know what? I'm not going to go to blows over a favorite sports team, and I'm not going to go to blows over people's favorite cars. I love meeting people that are so into Ford Mustangs and Chevy Corvettes. I love meeting those people and talking about them. Just because I don't personally like the car enough to buy it doesn't mean I don't really find it fascinating. The history of the pony car. The pony car got its name because of the Ford Mustang. There's a lot of history in the Ford Mustang, which I appreciate very much. So we're all geeks about certain brands of car and certain cars, of course. I'm just saying, bringing it all the way back around to trucks is the only reason keeping me out of seriously considering a Ford F-150 or any Ford truck for that matter. Ding-ding, ding-ding, ding-ding is just the door chime. And I don't know why that is such a seed in my brain. I don't know why that gets me so much. It's not like nails on a chalkboard. It's just I don't like hearing it. And I know what a lot of you are thinking right now. You can disable that. If you can't disable that in the settings menu, you can actually go in there with a screwdriver and just remove the speaker making that noise, or dismantle it in any other sort of way. Maybe encourage it with a chisel and a hammer. Who knows? I just lean back to see. So another thing you may have caught on to here is they don't make the Dodge Dakota anymore. If they made a modern Dodge Dakota, like if they made the Dodge Dakota today, it would be much more of a consideration of mine, because if the big old Ram 1500 gets 26 miles to the gallon, then the much smaller Dodge Dakota would be in that sweet spot that I'm looking for. It would be a truck that's big enough to do anything, small enough to drive comfortably around the city, be able to tow something as well. I used to tow my DeLorean with the Dodge Ram on a flatbed, and also get 30, if not more, miles to the gallon. I also thought it was a huge miss on Dodge's part that they never offered a diesel version of the Dodge Dakota. 35 miles to the gallon, all the more towing capacity. It seemed like a perfect fit to put even just a 4-banger diesel in a Dodge Dakota. Nope, they got rid of the Dodge Dakota completely. So I go back and look at Dodge Dakotas on Auto Trader and various places, and the problem is now that since they haven't been produced for a few years now, that they are all getting up there in mileage. You will be hard pressed to find a Dodge Dakota now if you so want one with less than 100,000 miles on it. I know that said, they will go for 300,000 miles easily. Flip the coin. On the other side of the coin, obviously, again, is that I know that they don't get very good gas mileage. 20 miles a gallon. I don't like that. Then I remind myself that the 2010 Audi S5 doesn't get great gas mileage. I can get 25 on the highway if I'm really judicious with it. If I just keep her at 60 on cruise control and I have a good little tailwind, I can get her 25. Highest I've ever seen is 28 miles to the gallon. So the car that I'm driving right now doesn't get super great miles to the gallon, doesn't get super great gas mileage. All the more reason I'm saying I wanted my next car, most likely is going to be an EV, but I've needed a truck the past few weeks. So that's got the idea in my mind that maybe I'll start looking at trucks. Maybe I'll have a pickup truck in between the EV. It also makes me think that I can't wait for the day until we have an actual EV truck. And I know that's coming soon. What manufacturer? I think Tesla is Tesla working on? I know some manufacturers working on making an EV pickup truck. But here, once again, the problem with pickup trucks in that market segment is that pickup truck owners and buyers are, you will be hard pressed to find another group of people that isn't more opinionated and staunch and devout to their truck and their brand of truck. And they'll say that one of the reasons why they don't find the Honda Ridgeline to be a real truck is a shallow bed, and it's a unibody design. It is not a frame on a body on frame design as traditional with pickup trucks. So those design differences is what makes a lot of truck drivers think that, oh, that truck isn't a real truck because it's a unibody or has independent rear suspension or whatever. There's all sorts of things that people can nitpick about pickup trucks over why it is and isn't a real pickup truck, quote unquote. So could you imagine an electric pickup truck? What kind of divide that would cause among pickup truck drivers? To me, it would be a no-brainer. Yes, bring on an EV pickup truck. All that torque, all that range. You could fit a lot more batteries in a pickup truck, theoretically. Theoretically, you could. I would be all over an EV pickup truck. Just drive it home and plug her in and I'm good to go. Each day I come out to the truck and it's full. I don't have to stop at the gas station and pump, 25, 30 gallons of fuel into it and then get 12 miles to the gallon. 20 if you're lucky. 26 if you're really, really lucky. An EV pickup truck would be wonderful. So here's where I'm left. And here's what I keep going back to. If I get another car right now in between the S5 and an EV, if there's a car in between there, it will probably be more utilitarian in nature. And I keep coming back to what I've mentioned previously in previous shows, station wagons. I would probably get a Jetta or Golf station wagon. The trade-off is, no, they're not going to be towing any flatbeds, and there's going to be pieces of whatever that I would need to lug around that won't physically fit because they'd be too tall to fit inside of a wagon, inside of the car. But it still has tons of capacity for most of what I would ever need. You could go to IKEA, you could go to Ashley Furniture and be able to get most things into the back of a station wagon. But I don't know. I'm venting on for more than 20 minutes about getting on this pickup truck kick. And you know what I'm going to do after I sign off the radio show? I'm going to open up Auto Trader again and poke around in futility at finding a pickup truck that is affordable and gets good gas mileage. Because we really haven't been getting good gas mileage in regular gasoline-powered pickup trucks until recently. And that means a lot of money, and I'm just not in a position to buy a new car like that. Nor even if I could, I wouldn't, because I wouldn't want to spend money on a pickup truck. But I'm thinking I want a pickup truck again. And if they had the Dodge Dakota, I'd be at the Dodge dealership today, test driving Dodge Dakotas. But they don't sell them anymore, so I'm stuck. I'm stuck talking into a microphone about my car purchasing conundrums. I'm probably just going to keep Rowdy for another few years, at least. We'll see. We'll see how much she needs done over the over the next few years. If she just gets prohibitively expensive or is just telling me, I'm done, I am done, then I'll let her go. But honestly, Rowdy has been extremely reliable. And the part that went out on her now at 138,000 miles is a wear and tear part. It's the starter. I've mentioned this in previous shows. It is a wear and tear item. It's a cheap item. It's just that it's in a very expensive location. You have to pull the whole front end off and drop the engine out. Sorry. Motor technically refers to electric assemblies, electric motors. You have a stator and magnets, and it's called a motor. If you're talking about a gasoline combustion engine, it's an engine. It has pistons, usually pistons, either radial or in a V or in a line, or it can be a rotary engine, but it operates the same way. Anyways, yeah, I think I'm gonna wrap it up there. I've talked too long about my car buying conundrum. Thanks for listening to Geek Therapy Radio this week. Tell your friends if you like Geek Therapy Radio. Thanks for just listening to me vent. A big part of this also is just me venting, and I appreciate you listening to me vent. If you like to consider supporting the Patreon, I would absolutely appreciate that. Remember, if you support on Patreon, 5% right off the top goes to helping those with mental illness every month. And the very basic starting tier, it starts at $2, and you get your name mentioned on the podcast if you become a pledge on Patreon. 100% up to you. This is absolutely not a binding thing. How could it be? How could it possibly be? You don't even have to listen to this podcast or radio show. So I just appreciate if you do consider pledging on Patreon. It means a lot. I've had listeners twist my arm that I should start a Patreon, and I found a way that I believe to me was the best ethical fit. I didn't want to advertise a sponsor to you and then ask you to support me on Patreon. So I found a good balance, which I explained in a previous show. Anyways, one of those things being that I'm not ever going to ask for Patreon on the actual radio broadcast throughout the city. That'd be stupid. Thanks for listening. I will catch you tomorrow. Remember that you are worthy of love. So please be good to yourselves and others, and take care until tomorrow.
Geek Therapy Radio, Saturday night at 10 on KPRC 950. Or listen anytime on our iHeartRadio app.